Did migrants cause the increase in cost of living? It's a question a lot of people are asking in Australia right now. Groceries cost more, petrol costs more, power bills, transport, and food. Everything just feels a little bit more expensive. But before we go further, let's be clear. This video is not going to talk about housing or rent. That topic is so big, it needs its own episode. So today, we're only going to talk about the cost of living and how migrants fit into it. The price problem. Over the past few years, Australian prices have gone up. Between 2020 and 2024, inflation reached 7.8%, the highest level in more than 30 years. The cost of food, fuel, and services rose sharply. People started to think, is this because of all the new migrants? It's easy to think that way. When more people arrive, demand also increases. But the real story is more complicated. How migration affects the economy. Australia's government uses migration to grow the economy. Here's how it works. When people come, they buy things, use services, pay taxes, and that helps grow the country's total income, or GDP. In fact, the government says migration increases the total GDP by 1% each year. So more people means more money moving around. But it doesn't always make you feel a little bit richer. The government says we need students and skilled migrants. But migration also makes the number look good. It keeps the economy growing even though productivity is very low. Now let's remember what happened when migration stopped. Let's go back to 2020 when COVID hits and the borders closed.
After further consultation with the National Security Committee this afternoon, tonight we will be resolving to move to a position where a travel ban will be placed on all non-residents, non-Australian citizens coming to Australia, and that will be in place from 9 p.m. tomorrow evening. We have already seen a very significant reduction in the travel to Australia by non-citizens and residents. It's about a third of what it normally would be at this time of the year, and we've seen reductions even in the last few days when we put in place the bans which required people to self-isolate for 14 days. And so as a result of that decision, we've seen the traffic reduce quite significantly, and we believe it is essential now to take that further step to ensure that we now no longer will be allowing anyone, unless they're a citizen or a resident or a direct family member in those cases, as is applied to all the other travel bans we've put in place previously. Now, this is a measure that I've been consulting also with the New Zealand Prime Minister on. We've been seeking to align.
For the first time in modern history, more people left Australia than arrived.
The net overseas migration in the year to June 2023 reached a record-breaking 518,090 people. But accusations of a big Australia aren't exactly true.
If you average out the net overseas migration over the past 3 years, you end up with a number lower than the decade preceding the pandemic. We lost 500,000 net migrants from June 2019 to June 2022, and those coming back are simply rebalancing things. Furthermore, fewer migrants are leaving Australia than usual, expected to return to normal in future years. Indeed, Australia's population is still expected to be over 375,000 people below the forecast prior to the COVID pandemic.
Around 90,000 migrants left the country that year, according to Australia's Bureau of Statistics. And that's how we realize we depend on migrants so much. Migrants work in jobs that help Australia keep running. They work in hospitals, aged care, transport, cleaning, and food supply. In fact, nearly 1 in 3 essential workers during the pandemic was born overseas. In fact, when migrants left, there weren't enough workers to pack food, drive trucks, and process goods. Supermarket shelves went empty, delivery time got a lot more longer, and prices started going up. This wasn't just a supply chain problem. It was a worker problem, and it shows how much we depend on migrants. The cost of labor shortages. When employers couldn't find workers, they have to pay higher wages just to fill jobs. That meant their costs went up, and so did the prices that we pay. The cost of meat, milk, eggs, and other products all jumped. Even local companies and transport companies couldn't keep up. By 2022, the government called it supply crisis. But in reality, it was a sign that migration is a big part of the Australian economic engine. And when you take it out, the system slows down and everyone pays the price. When migration returned, after the lockdowns ended, the borders reopened.
Will be time very soon that we will be able to open those international borders again, and that will enable Australians who are fully vaccinated and Australians and residents of Australia who are overseas who are fully vaccinated to be able to travel again and to be able to lift those caps on our airports in states where they have moved into phase C of the program. And that is where Australia is now preparing to move. This will happen next month. That's when it'll start happening from next month. As states move into those 80% vaccination rates.
The government quickly raised the target for immigration by 400,000 in the first year. They said this will fix worker shortages, help small businesses, and get the economy going again. And yes, some things did improve. But there was also a problem. More people means more demand. More people were buying groceries, fuel, and everyday items, which kept prices high even though global inflation keeps falling. So while migration helped fill jobs, it also kept demand high, making it harder for prices to go down. A two-edged sword. Migration helps the economy grow, but it can also make living costs feel worse. When you bring in more people, the economy goes up, but the average person's share of that wealth doesn't rise as well. This means Australia can look richer in paper, but your average daily Joe feels poorer. It's like baking a bigger pie, but everyone gets a smaller slice. The real issue isn't migration alone. So, did the migrants cause the rise in cost of living? Not really. They're part of the system, not the cause of it. When the system depends on constant flow of new people to keep prices stable and businesses open, the real problem isn't the migrants. It's how the economy is built. Migration covers a deeper issue, like low productivity, skill shortages, and weak local manufacturing. Without fixing those, we'll keep using migration as a quick fix for a much bigger problem. So before we blame migrants, we should ask, why does our economy only work when we keep bringing in new people to make it grow? In the next episode, we'll look at something that deserves its own deep dive: housing. So that's it for the video. Please like and subscribe so I can continue making this video. And if you missed the first episode, please watch the link here on the top.